who am I, who is watching?
Mm-hmm. Well, naturally that question comes up as we move beyond a certain threshold of engaging with the story, the pain and the suffering. That question indeed does arise because there is this sudden illumination and recognition that, well, just a moment, all of this story, everything I thought I was, is just a lie. It is not reality. So naturally then, because we've been so associated with story, there comes another level of query then that says, well, who am I? What am I really if I'm not the story, all these stories I thought I was? That's just a natural uprising that occurs because we are by nature inquisitive. There is still this mind occurring which is accustomed to wanting to define everything, to explain everything. The best thing I can suggest you do with that is to just witness it, to just be present rather than wanting to answer it. Because absolutely guaranteed, if you approach it from that same direction which says, well, now I must find an answer to this, you're going to take yourself back into another level of story. It may have a more spiritual image to it, but it's still going to be another level of story. Ultimately, the realization of our self, the truth of our being as consciousness, existence, and that which is really beyond all definition. Forget even saying the self or the I am or being. Forget that. Just what is. That is experienced in the gap, in the silence, not the formed idea, oh, well, I must be a something, I must be a this then if I'm not the story. So rather than re-engage with that story of who am I, go into the space and the silence from where that is even emerging. What is the backdrop behind that question? What is the presence? Be there with that presence. Simply experience that presence rather than seek to explain it or define it. I've said before that presence, this which we are, is a mystery. It's not to be explained. It's not to be resolved as a puzzle, as a problem. It is simply to be experienced. And our deepest, truest experience of that is when we are not hooking ourselves onto the limited stories. And when we do rest into that space, there is a vast, all-encompassing presence. Then story, no story, events, no events, it's all aflow within that vast presence of ourself. And indeed, that is liberating.